well. Let's go back. It is out of here. Number 700.
In 2007, Major League Baseball took a major blow. In a massive investigation, the Mitchell Report implicated over 80 players from all 30 clubs for using performance-enhancing substances. Those named included home run record holder Barry Bonds and star pitcher Roger Clemens. Both have denied the accusations. But for pro athletes in all sports, millions of dollars and world records can ride on gaining the slightest edge. And that's when many turn to steroids. Anabolic steroids are now banned in every major sporting organization. In the U.S., anabolic steroids are also illegal without a prescription. Yet more than 1 million Americans have admitted using them illegally.
Basically, since the beginning of baseball, not only steroids, but like gaining competitive advantage has been something that players have always tried to do. Dating back since 1889, players were using things that they thought were helping them, but really weren't. And even players such as Babe Ruth admitted to using extract from sheep testicles, which he thought was going to make him stronger. And he actually sat out because he felt sick because of that. And then it moves on towards the World War II era, where players were using amphetamines to give themselves an advantage, and that didn't really start kicking in until about the 1950s. When steroids really started kicking in, it was around the 1970s, where a pitcher named Tom House admitted to using a steroid that they wouldn't even give horses. So he was really kind of the beginning of the steroid era, where people were really trying to get ahead from not their own work, but from drugs alone. Steroids weren't actually made an illegal substance in professional baseball until the year 1991, and they didn't start testing players until 2003. So the 1991 to 2003 era is mainly the era that people know of baseball as the steroid era, where so many of the best players in that time, people didn't really know if they were clean or not because there were so many steroid users in the game. One of the players who's known most for using steroids is Jose Canseco, who released a book in 2005 called Juiced, where he named a lot of people who he thought were connected to steroids or that he knew used steroids during that time. Players such as Alex Rodriguez, Jason Giambi, and other big name players during that time were linked in that book. Some of them admitted to using it, and some of them have still to this day considered their accusations false. All the big name players that people know of that have used steroids, none of them are actually in the Hall of Fame, with the names of Barry Bonds and Mark McGwire and Jose Canseco. All those players have been known and linked to steroids, and because of that, they've been left out of the Hall of Fame because of voters not thinking it's right for them to be in the Hall of Fame. Now, it's always been up for discussion whether those players, if their records should be gone, if all their stats should be gone, if their careers should really even count. And some people think that's something that should be counted. Other people think because of the fact that they think it's cheating, that they don't belong in the Hall of Fame or even belong in the record books in general.
2013 Hall of Fame ballot. I believe you're on this ballot?
I will be, yeah.
Okay. Congratulations. Sammy Sosa's on the ballot, Barry Bonds is on the ballot, and of course Roger Clemens is on the ballot, and those are three players that have been linked to steroids. What is your opinion? Should they?
No. No, they shouldn't. They shouldn't get in.
They shouldn't get in. Okay. You mean, what would you do with their record? Should their record have an asterisk? Are you a guy that?
I think you get rid of them. I think
you expunge the record completely.
Absolutely. It's a slippery slope, and it's one of those conversations that when you begin to talk about details of how you'd go about doing it, people start to weigh in with different opinions. Well, if you do this and you do that, you don't know when they started. If you cheated, you're done. And,
right.
And it's not to say that there's a purity about the Hall of Fame, because there's some really bad people in the Hall of Fame. There's really bad people in all of the Hall of Fames. But if character and morals and ethics don't matter, then I'm not sure what it stands for.
All right. All right. You certainly answered the question.
I'm here to talk a little bit about the science of steroid use. Baseball is predominantly known for the use of anabolic steroids. Former player Alex Rodriguez was known for using a steroid called primobolan, also known as an androgen. It increases muscle mass and strength and also enhances endurance and recovery post-workout, which is huge for baseball players because they play 162 games a season plus more if they make the playoffs, and so your body's always sore. Some of the negative effects is that it throws out the body's natural production of testosterone, causing the body to somewhat turn down the thermostat and stop producing testosterone, which is a reason for the theory about the smaller testicles. Another downside is that it can make a male grow breasts with when the body takes in an excess amount of testosterone. A percentage of that is converted into estrogen, which is the girl's dominant, I was going to say female's dominant hormone. That spike in estrogen has some results that can be considered anything but manly.
Okay, so when it comes to the steroid users in the Hall of Fame, it's not so much that they don't have the statistics to get in as the fact that they are strictly just using steroids is the main reason they aren't getting in. For example, Barry Bonds is a home run king, career and season leader in both categories of home runs. Roger Clemens has 7 Cy Young Awards. Sammy Sosa, second most for home runs in a season. So they have the statistics to get in, but the fact that they use steroids is strictly holding them back. In 2015, votes heavily favored the other 3 stars, John Smoltz, Pedro Martinez, and Randy Johnson, who all had outstanding careers and great stats as well. But the reason they got 90% of the votes was because they were not linked to steroids. So it's not necessarily that they were better than the other 3 candidates. It was strictly the steroids is the main factor running in this. How is it that we can have a Hall of Fame without these record holders, such as Sosa, Bonza, McGuire, and Jose Canseco? They were the first bunch of the steroid era, and voters think that it is wrong that they use steroids, even though they lead baseball in many categories. It doesn't seem right, but that is how it's gone so far. Now, if people really think that their careers, like people like Curt Schilling, for once, have spoken out and said that their careers should be wiped from the record books. If that's true, if their careers should be completely wiped from the record books, they should have no statistics. What does that say about their teams they play on? Does that mean the team should get all their wins demolished? Or why even let them play to start with? If we knew they were using steroids and they've been linked to steroids, why did we continue to let them play? If it's going to come to this at the end and we're talking about wiping their careers. It just seems if they were going to act on it, it should have been earlier than later. Why wait until the Hall of Fame ballot to make this decision? Why not stop it early? Why not solve the problem before it even started? Kenny?
That's not much something I've always thought about, but I do believe that it does give the entire team, not just the player, an unfair advantage. And that's something that baseball really needs to look at when players get suspended for steroid use, because most of the time they just suspend them for like the season or like half the season. Like I know this past year, D. Gordon, he got suspended for like 140 games and he missed basically the entire regular season. But him coming back, he still has a history of using PEDs and he's done it before, so I feel like it's still, he was ahead of the game at one point, so I think no matter what, even if you stop using steroids, the players still going to be better than what they should have been in the past. So it really is kind of, I guess, tough to decide whether a player like that should be in the Hall of Fame or if his team should be able to have him anymore, if he should be done, if his whole record should be gone, I guess, because every time you see an individual player picked up or something, I feel like no matter what the sport, the team isn't necessarily the one that gets punished, it's just the player, but it's giving not just him, but the whole team a benefit and like giving the other team a disadvantage playing against someone who has used an unfair substance to perform better at the game of baseball.
Well, I was looking around the 1 was saying, I found one interesting thing that happened in the Major League Baseball in November 23. The league revealed that 5.27% of 1,038 tests returned positive results. The tests began during spring training and were conducted anomalies on the member for each club 40-man roster. Subsequently, 240 of the same players were tested again without notice at some point during the 23 regular season.
So now the question is raised, whether or not they should be allowed and why. Now, we all have different opinions on the subject. Myself, I'm kind of neutral. I think that it is hard to see a Baseball Hall of Fame without those three guys in it because of their careers and the records that they have. So, if they get into the Hall of Fame, what does that say about steroids? Because they did cheat. They cheated for a good majority of their career, and I mean, then the question is raised: should their careers be wiped? Should their records stand, but they not get inducted into the Hall of Fame? There's a lot of different ways you can look at it. Also, things like how do you distinguish when they started using steroids? Do part of their seasons count? All these things are factors, and I know that Victor and Kenny have stronger feelings on it, so let's hear from them.
I don't think that players that have used steroids and been tested positive for PED should be in the Hall of Fame because it's such a cheat, I guess, and it just gives people such an unfair advantage. I know that after the 2003 season where Barry Bonds hit his home run record, that was kind of right after people found out that he used steroids, or later on we found out that that was around the time that he used steroids. And that was the season that he hit 70-some home runs and broke the record. And without those steroids, I mean, do we really know if he actually hits all those home runs in that season? I think that their careers should be acknowledged, and like, since he is the home run leader, I think that people should know that he does have the most career home runs of all time. But I think that he shouldn't technically be the home run king because of his cheating compared to Hank Aaron. Hank Aaron played in the 1960s. He never used steroids. He was the guy who had his record broken by Barry Bonds. And how does he feel where he knows his whole career he played a clean style of baseball, never cheated using steroids, and then his record gets broken by someone who had an unfair advantage to put himself to be better than him in a statistical standpoint, but how do we know if he was actually the better home run hitter of all time? Or Roger Clemens, who won, I think, 7 Cy Youngs, so he was the best pitcher in his league 7 times. He used steroids. How do we know if he actually would have been the best pitcher all those 7 years? I think that the people who cheated, giving themselves an unfair advantage, shouldn't be allowed in the Hall of Fame. I think something to make more sense of this is, should he really be the home run leader if he had an unfair advantage? It's like a guy who maybe he set the record for the 100-meter dash, but he had 20 miles per hour of wind to help him. Like, he technically has the fastest time, but would you really want to count it because he had help that no other runner would have had to beat that record? And I think that's just something to think about, where I don't think that players who have cheated deserve the acknowledgement of being in the Hall of Fame because their careers weren't played fairly.
So just to clarify, you're saying that their records their careers and their records should be acknowledged. You're saying don't wipe them away, let history show that it happened.
Oh yeah, I definitely think that you should show history that it happened and have it known.
But
that
they won't have the title
No,
of the best?
I don't think you should have the title of that. It's like how Reggie Bush got his Heisman taken away in 2005. Everyone knows that he won the Heisman, but he doesn't actually have that Heisman anymore. Like, I think it should be something like that where people know that it happened, but I don't think he should be the record holder of all the
bad thing for baseball player or many athletes. And another thing, we know that steroid is bad, sometimes it's good, because I think every people, every fans, they want to see when they go to the field, see a lot of home runs and many good players, many good plays. And also, what Hunter said about Barry Bonds, he broke the record to home runs. How many? 500? 700. Yeah. In my opinion, he should be in the Hall of Fame because he did a good job and his effort was great. For that reason, I agree with Hunter.
So you're saying that in a way steroids was actually a good thing for baseball because it increased the fan experience, because those athletes were able to perform better and make bigger highlight plays, hit more home runs. But in a way that it's also bad because obviously what it does to your body.
Yeah.
Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I apologize to everybody in Major League Baseball.
You essentially strengthen your body and your performance with a cocktail of steroids and growth hormones.
Yes.
Injecting. Where do you inject it?
Into your gluteus maximus, which is your butt muscle.
Your butt muscle.
He had a conversation with you in 1999 or 2000 in which you admitted that you used human growth hormones. Is this true?
It is not.
I just want to thank everybody. The hard part is over right now.
First of all, congratulations. It really is history. Barry, I want to ask you a serious question, though. How do you feel about steroids?
I don't think we're here to discuss those matters. I think we have a great policy in this game of baseball, and we should just leave it at that.
Barry, you
said baseball fans should be shocked into action.
What does he mean by that?
I think he means they should demand better of their players.
Well, I'll tell you this. I think Bud Selig and Major League Baseball has done a fine job of implementing some very strict rules. I mean, I got tested 8 or 9 times.
Given this controversy, Alex, who do you think has the real home run record? Barry Bonds at 762 or Hank Aaron at 755?
Well, I think Barry Bonds, he has 762. I mean...
but he has an asterisk next to his name.
Does he? Not yet.
Well, in
Right?
the minds of many, he does.
You know, the federal government is going to make up their decision on that. Barry's had a phenomenal career. I've really enjoyed watching him play, but he's innocent to proven guilty.
For the record, have you ever used steroids, human growth hormone, or any other performance-enhancing substance?
No.
Have you ever been tempted to use any of those things?
No.
You never felt like, this guy's doing it, maybe I should look into this too. He's getting better numbers, playing better ball.
I've never felt overmatched on the baseball field. I've always been in a very strong, dominant position. And I felt that if I did my work, since I was rookie back in Seattle, I didn't have a problem competing at any level. So, no.
Steroids are still a prevalent problem in baseball today. No matter how hard the game tries to rid the problem, it may never go away. What Major League Baseball does need to do is make a decision if they will allow steroid users to keep their records and go to the Hall of Fame. And until it does that, this will always be up for discussion.
Swings, and it's BB, baby, back to back. Woo, look at this one. Upper deck, and I mean it left the park at the 3-7.
Sammy drives one. Get out the tape measure. Long gone. I don't believe it. Sammy Sosa.
Leaning a little bit right now. He's running.